Someone once told me the grass is much greener on the other side.
2022's Turning Red, directed by Domi Shi. We do have a special guest. Please introduce yourself, Miss Special Guest.
Hi, I'm Michaela.
I love this movie. I love this movie so much. I remember when it came out, I don't know, something about it. The energy and the vibes of this movie is just so different from what Pixar was releasing at the time. It's very rare that we get films centered around like teenage girl protagonists that aren't scared to embrace the fact that these are awkward growing teenage girls. It is cringe, it is abrasive, it's loud, but like these are things I don't feel like, especially Pixar really gets to go into with their films, and this just feels like such a breath of fresh air. I love the art design. There are scenes in this film that feel like you can screenshot it and put it on a PC background, between the settings, between all the different nods to Chinese culture.
I think what I offered to this conversation is the having been there. I also was an emotional K-pop loving teenage girl. When I watched it, I knew it was peak. And yes, it's a kids movie, but it's just something I will always appreciate and come back to well. Like Maylin, she still represents the rest of us weird girls. I too had my boy admiring under the bed.
I liked it. I don't know why it feels weird for me to say it because, you know, being like a 21-year-old man. I think that this movie does a lot of things well. I think the animation, the dialogue, the music's great. There's so many things I love about this movie, but also a lot of things I don't like. It's sad to say, but this movie's cringe.
It's teenage
which
girls.
Is fine because it's teenage girls, but also I don't like that argument because, you know, that's like, oh, they're teenagers, so it's fine for them to.
It feels authentic at least.
I think that's fair. I think that there was like a main turning point when the main character actually was like sticking up for herself against her mom. But then, like, she kind of reverts her character and then, like, turns her back on her friends at a pivotal scene. And then instead of, like, you know, sticking with her friends that were, like, with her the whole time, she decides that she wouldn't. And then they forgive her right away after the fact at the concert. And also they forgive the bully at the same time because he listens to the same music, which I think was completely crazy.
I want to highlight especially the themes of generational trauma. And the key thing that I really appreciated was that we're not only seeing the film through May and her mom's perspective, we're also learning about the grandmother as well. The film actually kind of pauses and gives a moment between the mother and daughter to actually really talk and to have a heart-to-heart understanding. I said it before, but this movie to me felt like an apology to Brave. When the main character transforms, she's actually still able to speak and communicate. You are given moments where these characters can just really have a heart-to-heart discussion, and it's not played up for a laugh or played up for jokes, but it feels like a genuine moment where a mom is accepting that my daughter is growing and changing and learning to be okay with it. I just really appreciate the sincerity in the scene, how powerful it was.
I think at the times that they unveil the mother were very well placed too. When Maylin asks her mom to go to the Four Town concert, and then she's going on this rant about how she hates it's weird, and then her mom calls and she immediately cowers away. And then now we're introduced to the bigger character, not that the mom is the tyrannical villain, but that she's actually just as scared as Mei Li of her mom. The scene where her mom transforms was very powerful as well, because you could tell the mom has dealt with her anxiety. She's extremely neurotic, but to be embarrassed by her daughter in front of her sisters and her aunties and her mother, that's what set her off, especially on that important moment too, where that was her chance to show everybody. She kept saying on the phone when her mom told her that she was going to come with everybody,
okay,
I can handle it. And that's the same rhetoric that her daughter is espousing. You know, the ending scene, the scene in the bamboo forest was so touching because it always brings you back to somebody's humanity, realizing that they too are like you.
Yeah.
So the fact that we saw her mom as a child at the moment where she was transforming, I think that was a very, very touching moment.
What this movie does well a lot is those emotional scenes because it adds so much depth to the characters, because I feel a lot of people, when they're fighting with their parents or like they see their parents going through something, realizing that they're human too. The music also in this movie, I think, is a big factor to why it's super enjoyable. It's catchy, like, you know, you can like understand why they want to go to the concert so bad.
I didn't talk about it enough. I listened to the soundtrack outside of the movie. Just sometimes the songs will be in my head and I'll come back to it. And not even just the sing songs, like the OST, the official soundtrack. And I think what it does so well is blending all the aspects of the movie. It has the Chinese traditional instruments. It has the iconic sound of, what was it, the 2000s this movie takes place in? It has the early 2000s sound to it too. And then a little hip hop bounce in it. Everything comes together so well to tell the whole cohesive story of the movie. The final song too, with the chanting song and the Four Town
song.
It did beautiful. I like that a lot. And they I found it very funny how they played into the end scene. They should be dead.
Yeah, like she definitely has a kill count. Like hundreds of kids just died in that concert. The kill count
of that movie is ridiculous.
Pixar has enough films under their pocket, under their resume that like it can't resonate with everyone. I love that they're trying to pick these different pockets to kind of make stories about, because this is untapped potential.
I'm turning red.
That was a joke? That was it?
I was going to say something else, but I was like...
What else you have to say?
No, that was it.
This is Lightyear, 2022, Angus MacLane. Before we even talk about the story here, let's talk about the framing device, right? There's like promotional art. This is the film that Andy watches that starts off his whole Lightyear phase that he has in the first movie, which, by the way, that doesn't work at all. There are so many moments where oh my god, I don't even know what to say anymore. We gotta take over. I don't want to talk about this movie, but I'm so good.
This movie was rough. I can give it some props. All like the flight scenes with like the plane, I think all look super cinematic, and like all like the action shots I think are pretty good. But other than that,
also some jokes were funny. I like some of the jokes.
First off, Sock is the GOAT.
He's the best character in the movie.
He literally figures out the calculations to make the correct fuel source, and then like, you know, even though it took like over 60 years to make, he still was able to do it with his limited like capacity. So we get introduced to 3 new characters. So it's the granddaughter of his best friend. She's cool. She's just trying to live up to her family name, but like she's scared of space. Yeah. And then like 2 other randoms that no one can remember the name of, because
one likes pens and one is like a grandma who like got locked up.
They were such whatever characters. And then we had this big like plot twist with Zurg being actually Buzz from the future. Right. Oh my god. Even though that just completely retcons everything.
The fact that Andy's toys were there with Andy when he went to the theater to watch this.
Yeah, so it was on the poster, right?
Yeah, that means that all of them should have been new. Like, they acting like they never seen a Space Ranger before. They're confused about why Buzz is acting like this, obviously, which like doesn't make sense. In Toy Story 2, we find out that Zurg is actually just Buzz's dad. Although, like, yeah, it was probably used as like a quick little like Star Wars reference during that time. Having him be future Buzz doesn't make any more sense. It just feels like a missed opportunity. Let's buy into the fantasy that this movie was to promote the Buzz toys. Why is it that we never see any other character from this movie besides Zurg and Buzz in any of the toy stores? We see, you know, he has a whole Buzz themed birthday party.
He has a whole aisle just for himself. Yeah, then none of the other characters are popular?
No other mention, no Sock, not even Sock is included as like a bonus. Really, in like the way that they try to connect this to the original Toy Story, where it's like, all right, let's do quick little references of like the lines that he would say. Let's do like some action moves here and there, like just kind of to make the audience be like, oh, I remember that, and it doesn't really add anything to the movie. What this movie is, it's a very average space movie. No interesting plot twists or ways to play around with the genre. It's just a space film at its most bland and boring. There was not a moment when I was watching this movie where like I felt like I understood the Toy Story world a lot better.
This doesn't add anything to his character because he just acts completely different of the way that the Buzz we know would act. Obviously, they're both like heroic and like, you know, care about like their friends, but other than that, they don't really have that many similarities besides like, you know, being Space Ranger.
That's the most boring part of Buzz's character, in my opinion. Like, we spent a lot of the film like laughing at Buzz, thinking that he's like really a Space Ranger. We make fun of him in the first one. He makes fun of himself in the second one. This movie just plays that same angle straight. And like, although like he gets moments where like people joke on him, he gets to laugh a little bit, like he's still like a pretty one-note kind of boring protagonist.
Some kids are like really interested in space and they like found this story interesting, but it's more like they just found like the space stuff interesting, not the actual characters or like the humor.
The movie has maybe a couple cool like set pieces, action pieces, some like 2 or 3 funny jokes, but that's really kind of it. 2023's Elemental, directed by Peter Son, right after Good Dinosaur. So what do you think about this movie, Mike?
This movie was fire.
No, this movie was water.
This
Wait.
movie was elemental.
I was pleasantly surprised. This is a very, very beautiful love story that actually works on both a narrative and like a social commentary level, because it spends time where we understand why Wade and Ember actually work together as a couple, while also understanding Ember's family and the sacrifices that her family has made to be where she is now, and that weight of like wanting to follow your own dreams while honoring your family and your culture. And I thought it was a very interesting plotline to follow.
I think this movie does a lot of things well. At least the dynamic between the families, Ember and Wade's like relationship, I think it gets developed a little quickly, but then also have like, I think different personalities that mesh so well together, because like she's hot-headed, but then he's like super kind and considerate. It's just a sweet story, like at least how the immigrant side goes, that, you know, the immigrant parents like come from a distant land to like start a new life for their family, and then like setting up a whole shop and like, you know, rebuilding the shop from like, you know, the ground up, and the daughter just wanting to make her immigrant parents proud, and then kind of putting her goals on the back burner to just follow her dad's goal. But then at the end of the story, she realizes that her goals, she wants to pursue them, and the dad is fine with it because he knew that she was the goal the whole time.
The work that they do with the dad, I love, because they give the father so much backstory where you understand why he is the way he is. He's never villainized, or like they tried to make him as like an outright unreasonable like parent. I love the work that they do between Wade and Ember. I think that they're very sweet together. Their relationship feels very genuine. And I was smiling a lot when I was watching through this movie, because I was just having a good time watching these two characters just kind of bounce off each other.
I mean, yeah, there's like a lot of jokes they share together that are just like super sweet, and also like the things Wade does for her, like, you know, helping her with finding her boss to try to revoke the tickets that were put on the store.
It's funny because I feel like when you compare this movie to this other director's other Pixar film, Good Dinosaur, there's definitely like a vast, I feel like his heart was way more into this project, and you can definitely really tell how autobiographical this is. Like, you know, the dude is actually in an interracial relationship in real life, so you can definitely kind of feel like he was able to put a lot more of himself throughout this film. This one feels a lot more authentic, a lot more autobiographical, and he even like pays tribute to his parents in the end credits, which was very sweet as well.
He's just using his own personal experiences, because I feel like a lot of people, especially children of immigrants, really understand how difficult it is to, like, you know, feel like you're not a burden to your family who worked so hard to get to the place they are. The conflict in this movie is a little weird. Wade goes to try to have the wall fixed, but then the construction guys don't like him, and this goes to the fact like in this giant city, there's only one like construction company that works for the city that just doesn't want to work with him, even though it wouldn't be for him. It's like for like a whole like part of the town. Yeah. I mean, also like, you know, the final scenes, like, you know, they're Wade and Ember like stuck in a room together, and then like Wade dies. But like he's actually not dead, guys. It's kind of like weird how like the durability works.
If you have immigrant parents, like this film would hold like a different like level to you, because I don't think you would really understand like Ember's conflict in this film is so grounded in like the real honest truth of like, how do I live my own life while also understanding the path that my parents set before me? How do I integrate into this culture while remembering the culture that my family comes from as well? I really appreciate it, at least, because I definitely saw myself in the story.
Also, I have a problem with the ending. I think it's like kind of a cop-out ending, because obviously she didn't want to take over the business, so they just destroy the whole business and like everything around them. It's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, everything works out then, guys, don't worry. Mm-hmm. When like I feel it's a kids movie, so like, you know, we can't be too realistic, but like in a realistic situation, like a lot of people have to stop from achieving their goals and like have to take up the family business to support their family. It wouldn't be as easy as just picking up and leaving.
Anything else you want to say to close it out?
I like it.
And you will too.
2024's Inside Out 2, directed by Kelsey Mann.
I don't like this movie as much as the first one. This movie was kind of predictable. I think it followed the same beats as the first movie, where emotion causes problems. Joy and like a group of other people get sent out to, I guess, the rest of the mine, right?
Yeah, that was.
And or out of headquarters, and then they have to make their way back because they're like missing a part of Riley. At least as far as the Riley parts go, I really actually enjoyed it. Like, you know, her dynamics with her two friends, like her trying to fit in. My highlights of both Inside Out movies, I think Riley is the highlight because there's like she's just trying to just live her life, and like the emotions are causing the problem. So like I can blame the emotions instead. I think it does a pretty good job representing how like someone will feel like when they're like not thinking straight.
I think this is on the surface level of a natural follow-up from that first one. Obviously, the first movie covers the growing emotions of a child. Now we're entering into teenage years, and with that come with new emotions and new conflicts, which I think was naturally handled pretty well. We get 4 new characters here, which only really 2 of them are genuinely like have an impact on the story. They were very careful with the way that they wrote Joy, and which I was very happy about. I think Joy is one of Pixar's best written characters, and they definitely work hard to make sure the audience understand that this is not the same Joy as the first movie. This is a Joy that's now somewhat following or understanding like her role as a leader a lot better. As much as I love that first movie, I think this one has a lot of really great, the same creative stuff. We changed animation techniques a couple times. There are some really cool side gags, the sarcasm, the vault is a great scene as well. I just feel like the emotional gut punch of the film didn't resonate with me as much as the first movie did. And it was great to see Anxiety and Joy kind of butt heads throughout the film because their dynamic I thought was really interesting to follow and watch. But for me, I think that first movie, because the cast was a little bit more slimmer, the resolve that they found about sadness being important to the human experience, I thought was a little bit better handled than the anxiety message. Obviously, it wasn't awful. I don't think it missed the mark by any means. It just didn't hit as much as the first one did for me. By no means is this a bad movie. Like, I still think it's a good sequel. Inside Out 2 still has the creative ideas, still has the great characters, but just is lacking in focus and sometimes falters when it comes to bringing home that central message. Like, I don't know, I feel like the third act of this movie, I wanted to feel a lot more. She's just now like understanding like having anxiety or being nervous or like really having that. I think that this is Riley's first encounter with it, which is why it probably hits like very hard.
Yeah, I think. I mean, also like the puberty is also like a big part of it, where like she's changing, and I think like. I mean, I even experienced this, like, you know, me throughout middle school, like, oh my God, I'm running through life. And then, like, you know, you get to high school and then you, like, feel like you're overthinking every single thing you're doing. And then, like, you feel like you're making mistakes. And then you lead yourself to, like, you know, someone that, you know, you don't recognize anymore, like, at least in this movie. I kind of disagree with you with Joy's character. I think they do a good job of at least, like, keeping how she feels towards sadness and, like, how she feels towards, like, other emotions. Like, she's more accepting. But then it just comes to the same premise, like, oh yeah, we just send the bad memories to the back of the mind because like those don't matter. And then at the end of the movie, all memories matter because that's what makes you the person you are.
The central plotline being that like, you know, Riley is someone who's growing up with different sides of herself. I don't know if that was my main takeaway. I feel like they should have led closer into the anxiety angles. Let's focus a little bit more on anxiety, that have a larger conversation with anxiety and joy.
Yeah, we only got that like end scene, like, you know, anxiety like finally gives up.
I don't think that theme landed for me as well as I think they wanted to. It feels like a little underdeveloped in my opinion. Getting to spend time with the other emotions who were kind of stuck in headquarters in the first movie was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think this movie was a lot more creative. I think they added like, you know, the whole vault scene with Pouchy.
Yeah, the goats.
You can see the creativity
Still,
in this movie.
That hasn't changed at all.
I just don't think the story is as strong as at least for the first one.
The execution isn't there as well as I think the first one.
What emotion are you feeling right now?
One of my top 4 emotions. I think I was feeling a little bit of embarrassment throughout the film when I was watching Riley, but I was also kind of envious because she seemed like such a happy character by the end. But let me tell you, my anxiety throughout a lot of those scenes where she was like checking the list, now I'm at a point of honesty and I can kind of relax and take a chill pill.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Elio, 2025, directed by originally Adrian Molina, but he stepped away from the project. And then Madeline, Serafion, and Domishi took over. I think the best thing about this film is the relationship that Elio has with his aunt. The film It reminded me a lot of Lilo and Stitch. And over the course of the film, you know, he learns about aliens, he learns about space, and realizes that he spent so much time idolizing this other world where he didn't take time to appreciate or try to connect with people in his own. I feel like the pacing in some parts of this film was really held it back for me. I just feel like some parts were sped a little too fast, and some parts definitely took time to start going.
I like the movie. I don't know why I like this movie so much. It just is like kind of like a sweet story that, like, you know, kid that doesn't feel like he belongs anywhere, so he must be looking out of Earth just to find someone that actually gets to know him. And also, I'm glad that this movie is also like kind of set in space. So, like, you know, if a kid like really likes space movies, they can watch Elio over Lightyear.
Right.
Why are they booing me?
I think like any kid, if they like lose both their parents and then having their whole world like turned inside out, especially with Aunt, who tries her hardest, but like she's always busy with work and like can't really like sit down and like, you know, spend time with him.
This film definitely is really funny at parts. Like, I feel like the humor in this film definitely was one of the highlights. The relationship between Gordon and Elio is like is a key part, especially of the second act of the film. But I feel like Gordon comes into the film a little too late. Like, I feel like if they had Gordon earlier, we could have more scenes of Elio and Gordon kind of connecting. But besides that, though, I really appreciated the heartfelt message. The characters in here were pretty fun to follow. I had a fine time. I thought it was cool.
I think Gordon and Elio's characters, at least when they worked together, and all the dialogue they had, I think it was like super sweet, because at the end of the day, they realize they're both kids that are living in different circumstances. I think their dynamic is actually pretty sweet, and I actually like the banter they have. I enjoy the movie, but it doesn't like do anything super special, at least for me. Like the scene where they're escaping Earth, and then they have to get through like a debris field. Just a bunch of people from all around the Earth, and just somehow know their location and like get like was able to help them like get past and get through the debris safely. Also, the ending of the movie is just like, oh yeah, aliens are real now, and then like all of Earth knows it, because it wasn't like a secret, like, which I thought it was going to end up being, because they took away all like the alien technology. I can really say I can sit down and watch this movie and I'm like, okay, it's just a nice movie, especially like for any kid that's like having a tough time like fitting in, especially if they lost a close family member like Elio did.
I think the biggest draw I'm taking from this film is watching this movie. I think I wish I was watching Lilo and Stitch. When you really compare, you think about these two films, right? What is both of these films about? You have a protagonist who loses both of her parents, who feels alone. And then the character also has a family member that's trying to connect with the main character, but is having issues because there's so many other responsibilities. But then, due to extraterrestrial forces, a character comes out, connects with our main character, and now has to grapple between the space world conflict and the human world conflict as well. So obviously there's enough differences to like not make them feel like a direct copy, but at least thematically, I feel like this one is very closely linked to that. We do have like another Brave situation where the original director of the film did step away because Pixar is trying to take away some of their creative control.
It could have been way more, but there's no way to like hate on the movie at all, especially for what like directors had to work with.
Yeah. Finally, every single Pixar film, for better or for worse, has been sat, has been watched, notes have been taken, takes have been given, opinions have been stated. And here we are. There is no way our lists are going to look exactly like your list. These are films that people grow up with, that form like special connections to, and there are different films that connect with different people. Obviously, these are our opinions right now. In a couple months, we might feel a certain way. This is the timestamp of where we are currently, how we feel. So I guess I'll start off first. We do have 6 categories for these films, and I'll be going over each one from my least favorite to my absolute favorite. So covering the lowest tier for never watching again, aka the F tier, I have 3 films. My least favorite Pixar film of all time is Good Dinosaur. If you are a kid that grew up loving dinosaur films, this is for you to watch in the background. No, the characters aren't unique enough. The story is not unique enough. It feels like a very bland National Geographic commercial. at its best. Coming in, Cars 2. As someone who really enjoyed the first Cars movie, this thing fails as a sequel in every single way. Mater is an extremely annoying main character. If you're coming there to see the themes of that first movie expanded, you're out of luck. And coming in at the highest of the F tier, Lightyear. Talk about pointless movies. In no way does this add anything interesting to Buzz Lightyear's character. It provides a boring backstory that retcons a lot of plot lines in the original Toy Story. And there are some interesting character arcs with Hawthorne and her granddaughter, but this thing feels like an afterthought. Coming in for the next tier, we have D tier for the had potential. I have two films on here. Brave. Brave is a film that has an extremely amazing first act. However, once the mom turns into a bear, you lose a core strength of the film, and unfortunately, the film never recovers after the fall off. Next, Bug's Life, a film that is fine for what it is, has some really cool anti-capitalist themes, and also a pretty interesting villain. However, the main cast aren't really that great. The liar reveal story feels a little bit generic. For my next tier, we have C tier for the films I think are fine. The lowest of this tier is Onward. It's a pretty sweet story about a brother connecting with his older brother, but for the most part, it's playing everything pretty safe. It executes on its themes pretty well. However, these characters do feel like stock archetypes and don't really feel like an interesting progression or character arc that they're setting up before. I think it's just fine. Next, I have Up. I 1000% agree that the montage scene is one of the greatest animated scenes of all time. However, the rest of the film borderlines cartoonishly absurd and just kind of okay. The relationship between Russell and Carl is very sweet. The humor is all right. However, the story and the antagonist I wasn't fully engrossed in, so it's staying here for now. Coming up next, I do have Elio, an extremely sweet story about the weird kids. If you enjoy the humor, you enjoy the characters, you enjoy the arcs that Elio and his aunt had to go through. However, it doesn't push the envelope enough or doesn't add anything interesting for it to put above. Coming up next, I have Incredibles 2. We are getting a lot more of the Parr family, which is never a bad thing. You're getting more Bob with his kids, you're getting Elastigirl. However, everything outside of that really doesn't hold a candle to that first movie. The villain is extremely forgettable. The story feels sloppy at parts. The dialogue doesn't feel as sharply refined. But still, spending time with the Parr family is never a bad thing. And I do have Finding Dory, a film that surprised me in a lot of ways, created a really interesting story for Dory to go through, and a really fun cast of characters that also add to the theme of the film overall. Coming next in the B tier for the films I think are good is Finding Nemo. I think it's a very sweet journey about a father having to deal with losing his son. The film is very mature. It takes its audience through a lot of emotions. It's very high stakes, it's very high intensity, but the payoff we get throughout that final act is like no other. Extremely well done, extremely well executed. It's a very iconic, memorable film. Coming up next, I do have the first Cars movie, which surprised me a lot. It's a film that has the theme of settling down and to appreciate the world around you, a theme that I can always get behind. Characters that actually add to the theme and add to that feeling of community and belonging that I think this film absolutely nails. Although there is some corniness, there's some cheesiness, the themes and the characters that they're presented, I think have resonated with me a lot, which is why it's going right here. Coming up right afterwards, I do have Elemental, a film that is part love story and part immigrant story. It's a film that challenges the status quo, a film that critiques society, and a film that pushes the themes of love and connects with, at least me on a more personal level, being the child of immigrants. To have a story that kind of speaks to my own experience was always a great thing to watch. And the relationship between Wade and Ember, I think is really well done. Coming up next, I have the first Toy Story movie. Iconic, the humor is amazing. The way that it sets up the Pixar brand, the Pixar style, I think was the perfect step forward. A really well-rounded cast, great themes. It's just a solid film overall. Coming up next, I have Monsters, Inc. The relationship between Sully and Mike is extremely well presented here. A film that has so much heart, so much care. The relationship between Sully and Boo in here is the emotional glue that holds the film together, and I left the film with a big smile on my face. Extremely creative, the soundtrack is extremely iconic, it's a great time. And top of my B tier, I have Inside Out 2, a film that presents so many different creative ideas, that mature along with its audience, that introduce so many different concepts to the Inside Out franchise, but it's only held back by retreading plot lines that the first movie already worked towards and presented already. We have the next tier, A tier. We have Toy Story 4, a film that at first we were very apprehensive about, but leaving, I think actually did a great thing with Woody's character. A film that honors the journey that Woody went through, gives him a satisfying ending, and also makes us question what it means to be a lost toy. Gabby Gabby is a great addition. Seeing Bo Peep was always a lot of fun as well. And the ending scene with Buzz and Woody always gets me emotional. It's a great time. Coming up next, we have Cars 3, a film that wraps up Lightning McQueen's arc in a way that I think is absolutely perfect. It's a film about accepting that the glory days are done, but also leading the way for the next generation to come in after you. Coming up next, we have Wall-E, a very sweet love story that has some very eerie moments where we do get a reflection or maybe a dark mirror towards our future. A film that explores humanity's relationship with technology, our over-reliance on it, and how we can get back to making progress as people. Coming up next, I have Toy Story 3, a film that was a perfect conclusion to Andy's saga with these toys. Although I wasn't a huge fan of the jailbreak stuff towards the middle, the last 30 minutes of this film, if you watch all the other Toy Story films, there is no way you can watch those segments and not feel anything. And overall wraps up the story of the Toy Story franchise with Andy in a perfect way. Coming up right above that, I do have Toy Story 2, a film that is the textbook definition of a perfect sequel. Buzz's arc in this film, the fact that he has to literally play off the version of him from that first movie, the mental journey that Woody has to take against Stinky Pete, also Jessie and Jessie's story. I think Toy Story 2 is the best of the Toy Story franchise because it takes the writing of all three of our main characters at its height. It's amazing. And coming up at the top of the A tier, we do have Ratatouille, a story that is as inspiring as it is creative. And it cannot be understated how amazing Brad Bird is as a director, but also has a cast of characters that you can't help but root for. Remy as a main character is extremely hardworking, and the ending of the film really makes you understand how important it is. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, you can still create great works of art. Now, at my S tier, we start off with Luca, a film that is extremely simple and surface level, however, has some of the most memorable and fun characters to follow. The themes of acceptance, the theme of being true to who you are, the setting, the food, the culture of Italy was great to be in for this hour and a half. Coming up next, we have Soul, arguably Pixar's most mature film about the meaning of life, about what it means to have a passion, a film that treats its audience extremely mature, introduces different concepts, different questions. The dialogue between characters feels almost unscripted. The only thing holding it back for me is that I feel like the ending is very abrasive. But besides that though, it's a great amalgamation of a lot of great ideas that I think was executed on a very great scale. Coming up next, Monsters University. If you are someone who had to work hard, who was never naturally gifted, this is a film that speaks directly to the underdogs. It's a film that challenges the way that we understand Mike and Sully's relationship, the way that Monsters University goes about answering the question of hard work versus talent. I've never seen any other film tackle in the same way. It's a theme that I greatly appreciated, especially being in university. It connected with me on a very emotional level. Coming up next, Turning Red, a film that I absolutely love. I love seeing May and her girls fool around, a film that best executes the themes of generational trauma because it pays respect to both the mother and her mother as well. It's hilarious, it's fun, but it's also extremely creative, extremely imaginative, and I think is a film that a lot of people should give a lot more credit towards because of the way that it also maturely treats the themes of menstruation, of growing up, of paying homage and honoring your parents while also paving your own way as well. Top 3, we have Incredibles, the perfect superhero film. The way that the powers are directly linked towards each family member's personality, Syndrome as a villain, what he says about parasocial culture, celebrity culture, idolizing. The action is amazing. The dialogue is sharp and witty. The foreshadowing. A film that feels perfectly crafted down to the little minute details. You've probably heard it before, you will definitely hear it again. Incredibles is incredible. Coming in at my number 2 spot, the emotional gut punch that is Coco. Let's talk about music for a second. The film absolutely has great commentary on the music industry, but also takes a step back to talk about themes of forgetting, themes of remembering. It's a film that directly talks to its audience about carving your own way, following your passions, while also giving an emotional ending that it's hard to have a dry eye through. But also has a great world in the land of the dead. The world building in this film is also extremely creative. Overall, it's batting 100. Only thing that's holding it back is that I feel like some of the dialogue, especially towards De La Cruz's end, feels a little forced. And my absolute favorite Pixar film is Inside Out. I believe to be Pixar's most creative film. The way that we learn about the brain while incorporating some real world psychology within, the creative ways they go about exploring themes of family, of growing up, themes of exploring or repressing emotions. It's a film that told the audience it is okay to feel sad. A theme that I think is very hard to pull off for other studios. I think joy is Pixar's greatest written character. Pixar at its best, Pixar at its boldest, and why it is my favorite Pixar film.
So, starting off from the bottom, Good Dinosaur, who's surprised? It has such an interesting concept, but they do nothing with that plot point. You like dinosaurs as a kid, sure, you can like this movie, but like, there's way better movies to watch where like a family learns how to like accept each other for who they are. The only other one on F tier is Lightyear. It's so unnecessary and not needed that like, there's not more to even like talk about it. Like, I don't want to ever see this movie again, talk about this movie ever again, and I just want to leave it at that. And then moving on from F tier, we're gonna go to D tier with Onward. Onward does a lot of stuff. I mean, especially as like an older brother, I can see where like if someone doesn't have a father figure in life and they have an older brother, then like it's like the perfect movie. But it doesn't do a lot of great things that like makes it outshine the other movies on the list. Then I want to give apologies to all the Bugs Life fans. I think Bugs Life, comparing to like the other 3 movies that are below this, I think does a pretty good job making an underdog story. But like other than that, you don't really care about the side cast. You can't tell me a single one of their names. Then I'm going to actually go to C tier, where I actually think Brave did a pretty good job. Brave had such an amazing start, and if they kept going with that plotline, it would have been great, and especially with the change of directors. The only reason why it's as high as it is for me, because I think Meredith allows girls who don't really think they fit in with normal princesses to look through Meredith and like maybe connect with her more. Then goes to Finding Dory, where I actually don't hate this movie as I thought I would, but this at least gives her a backstory and also adds like a cool side cast I actually enjoy. Like, I think Hank is really great in this movie. Marlin and Nemo take a back burner, which is fine. I think it's more of a Dory-centered movie. But then also, I don't think she is strong as a main character to work as like the centerpiece of a movie. Up, another great movie, but it's just not as interesting and fails to deliver on at least certain plot points. I do agree that Russell and Carl's dynamic is very nice, but I don't care about Kevin and Doug and like the villain. I don't think they're as strong as how the beginning of the movie was trying to represent them. Cars 2. I will stick by this movie. You know, I was trying to make a tier above S for just Cars 2, but this movie was such an important part of my childhood, and that's why I put it this high. But also, I think this movie's hilarious on Disney Channel. I'm pretty sure they put this movie over and over on repeat, so that's why this has become such a part of my childhood. And then we have Elio. I think Elio, having the different setting in space and like seeing like all the different species interact, it's pretty nice, and then also like heartwarming. I think putting this on for a kid that like might be struggling to fit in or like is interested in space, this movie does a way better job than Lightyear does. Incredibles 2 at the very top of C. I really enjoyed this movie because of what it can lead to in the future. The villain sucks in this movie, and also like kind of the side cast, besides like the main people that were in the first movie, are just forgettable. But at least it builds on the Jack having multiple powers, and also like, you know, the family realizing that it's okay to be superheroes. Now going into the B tier, Toy Story. The movie's cool. I love the dynamic of the characters. I just think that Toy Story is the weakest out of the Toy Story franchise. It's more of a basic story. It just doesn't, it's not as visually appealing, and it's hard to go back to the movie when I think there's other Toy Story movies that do a better job than the first one. Elementals, I think this is the actual romance side of Pixar that we haven't really delved into, like having two different lifestyles and like, you know, finally, I mean, they're literally complete opposites, but work so well together because they understand what each other are going through. And also the immigrant side of it, I think really delves into like the impact it has for me. Finding Nemo is right above Elementals. I think Finding Nemo is pretty dark. This movie isn't as high. I mean, it's super memorable and I love a lot of aspects about it, but like Dory, at least for me, is annoying. I think other movies just do it better, or at least I enjoyed it at a different scale. Then Inside Out 2, we get to see more of how joy interacts with the other emotions instead of only sadness like it was in the first movie. So I think it does a very good job like correlating how anxiety like takes over the mind and then you can't think straight, and then how like you push all your emotion behind you. But it follows the same format as the first movie. Then the finish off B tier is Cars, a story of someone that is very lonely. He doesn't have any like actual friends. And I think that's very important because I feel there's a lot of people that are in like that fast lane who just keep going throughout life, get all the money, get all like the success they wanted, but then have no relationships to make up for it. It kind of shows like the glamour of like an athlete, because this is like kind of like an athlete in the Cars universe where everyone loves him, but he doesn't love anyone else. The bottom of A, Monsters Inc. I just really enjoy this movie, and I think in my household, because I asked my dad like what's like the best animated movie we watched when we were younger, and like, you know, Mike and Sully were like his top two people he kept bringing up. So I think Monsters Inc. is an important part of just how we interact. Toy Story 4, I think it's a great ending showing how Woody's character, he doesn't need to have a kid anymore. He can actually like put himself first, or at least help other toys be played with. At least the final scene, I think, really shows like how Buzz and Woody are like kind of like they had the strongest relationship in Toy Story. And having that like finally end, I think shows a lot of like emotional growth, especially how far they came as friends. Then Cars 3 handles like lightning being like washed, and we see this happen with so many other athletes. Him passing on the torch to Cruz just show like before he didn't care about anybody, but now he realizes that he can put other people first and then push them forward and motivate them. Toy Story 2, it does so many great things. I think Buzz is the best in this movie. We get Jessie and Stinky Pete. It's not my favorite out of the franchise, but Toy Story 2 is the movie you want to watch. Inside Out, I don't like sadness. It's kind of hard to see like who you're supposed to root for in this movie, and I think this movie is very complex in the emotions and the world it tries to show. As a basis, I think this movie does a great job. How the movie interacts with the viewers watching it, because everyone has emotion. Most people that are watching this movie are going to feel something towards it. Luca, it's just like a sweet story. But I think it's like a very nice dynamic between Luca and Alberto. Without Alberto, Luca would still be underwater, like, not experiencing the world that he would be now. Now, starting with S, Turning Red. Turning Red is an amazing movie. With the songs, the character designs, the artwork, the animation. I love this movie. Obviously, I find some scenes cringy. I think this movie does so many things so well. I really couldn't like say anything more. Then WALL-E. WALL-E is another one of those movies I loved when I was a kid. And then watching it again, I loved it even more. I think its humor is great. WALL-E and Eve interaction and relationship by the end of the movie. Also, I like the dystopian future that we see, like overconsumption, that like, you know, humans are not even able to walk without robots. I think this movie does a great job of like representing technology and controls our lives. Toy Story 3, my favorite out of the franchise, because I think Lotso really pushes this movie over the edge. He's a dictator practically in this movie. And also how Andy's character is going to college and he can't use all the toys anymore, and him finally realizing he has to give it up to Bonnie just shows that like it's the end of the story and it's okay to give up your toys and like, you know, move on with your life. Then Monsters University, still so real for the college experience. The dynamics between Sully and Mike, I think, are amazing. I think you can go into this movie, especially if you're in college, and see like, I know these types of groups I see in the background, or also like just see in general, because even though they're monsters, I think that just makes it even better because of how Pixar is able to make a movie about monsters going to a university so real to like the human experience. Soul being at number 4. Soul is such an important movie, I think, in Pixar's catalog because of its concept of life and death. Your point in this world is not to do a specific task. It's supposed to live. A lot of people should watch this movie more or rewatch it to like see how this movie coincides with your own life. Incredibles, I think, does an amazing job. All the characters in the cast are so amazingly written, with Syndrome being the villain that like is an obsessed fan. I think all the superhero powers are super cool with Frozone. I think this movie is practically perfect. Then Ratatouille with the colors, the lights, the setting in Paris, and how Remy is just such a great main character where he constantly tries to live up to the expectations that his father put for him, but also try to better himself and better his situation. It works so well because I feel like a lot of people have those aspirations that like some are never able to fully achieve, and it's shown incredibly in Ratatouille. Number 1 spot, Coco. It does everything super well. The only like critiques I have about it is like, you know, Dela Cruz's story, and then but other than that, all the music in it is amazing. The colors, the lights, the family values, the relationships. I think this movie is like beyond perfect, and like you can watch this movie and like it especially felt super deep to me because I have family members that are like Mama Coco, where they have dementia and they don't really remember the life they once lived. At the end of the movie, especially like the scene with Mama Coco and Miguel like singing together, it's just such a nice scene that it just warms your heart.
I have a couple questions I wanted us to answer. Now, here's the caveat, though. You cannot name your number 1 favorite film in any of these answers. Question number 1. Which film grew on you the most on this rewatch?
Probably say Monster University. Like, I was so surprised. I was like, wait, this movie is amazing.
I was looking like, I'm laughing. I'm cheesing right now.
It's so nice. It's like such a breath of fresh air.
I'm going to give flowers to Cars 3. I think because that was the film that we both haven't seen, and I was definitely like in a weird place, especially after watching Cars 2. But the way that film tackles, like, especially Doc's death, and how like the film is very much paying tribute to the character, the voice actor, and also the way that it wraps up Lightning McQueen's story here as well. I think it was all handled extremely maturely.
Yeah, I mean, also like the Cruz storyline of like, technically she's like a female athlete that like usually just gets put in like the shadow of like all the male athletes and having to become a trainer.
Now, what is a film that didn't hold up as well on this rewatch?
Maybe even Brave. I think those 2 movies they're just not as good as I remember. I think Up was the most I was disappointed about the movie because I was like, it was like a snooze fest. Like I was just kind of bored.
I think I might unfortunately have to put Inside Out 2, only because this is coming from a huge fan of that first movie. I think because I watched it twice before we did the rewatch here, and I think those first 2 times I was just enamored with these new concepts and new ideas. But I think on this rewatch, I don't think the themes was fully connected with me when I thought about it for a little bit more. Which one of these films do you feel like gets a little too much glaze?
Inside Out, definitely. Oh my god. Obviously, I think Inside Out is a great movie. It's just that a lot of people was like, it's the best movie ever. Maybe it's just not for me.
The conversation around Up needs to change. Listen, I think we as a community, we have analyzed the first sequence top to bottom. Can we talk about anything else about the movie? We really can't. The rest of the film is not that much to go back on. Which film do you think deserves a lot more glaze?
Soul. I think it's like forgotten in the Pixar catalog. I think it does an amazing job of its story, and I love its characters.
I think Turning Red had so much unnecessary hoopla on its release of like people not fully understanding. Like I remember there's like a big thing because the film talks directly about periods, loud noise about that. If you have an opinion, at least watch it first. Because I think a lot of the other films, especially like the ones in the later years, a lot of people have strong opinions about but just haven't seen or just judging based off of art style. Which film do you think has the best main character? I gotta say Woody, bruh. Woody is probably at his best in Toy Story 2, Because I think Woody, the way that he starts as like an extremely selfish and self-centered character and grows into arguably the most selfless Pixar character in the entire lineup, never once faltering or falling back to his old ways, but instead continuing to put other people above himself.
It's probably Woody. He's the face of Pixar for a reason. Like, he has so much character development. He can carry a movie all by himself, which I think is a lot of these other characters really can't do.
Which film do you think had the best side cast? I guess the answer would have to be like The Incredibles, because the family dynamic and the way that the family talk to each other and interact, and you're playing off of like the annoying little brother, the emo older sister. It's common tropes that we've seen before, but adding like that superhero twist to it keeps the movie feeling fresh.
Yeah, I would probably have to say like Incredibles also, because like the side cast is what you also love about this movie, and then like with the villain, I think everything ties up super nicely.
Which film has the best antagonist?
Lotso is a great villain, practically a dictator that literally leaves the toys to die. I mean, obviously Syndrome's kind of trying to kill Bob and the family, but Syndrome does an amazing job also. It's kind of hard to choose between those two characters because of like they both have different dynamics, and that's why I feel like they're so well written that it's kind of hard to choose between both of them.
Honorable mention is going to go to May's mother in Turning Red. I think they do a great job exploring why she is this very controlling mother, but also understanding that she is a product of the way that her mother raised her as well. But I think my answer here might be Ember's father in Elemental. I think the thing that they do extremely well is show a father who experienced so much like vitriol. At least like his hatred or his prejudice doesn't come from an ignorant place, but comes from like an actual experience. But also by the end, coming to the conclusion of like accepting, that her daughter chose someone who treats her extremely well, and also letting her know that the reason why we migrated in the first place was not to push my dream on you, but for you to witness your own dream. Which film you think had the strongest first act?
I think WALL-E has a pretty good first half, because it shows like WALL-E's just been living here for like hundreds of years,
extremely lonely,
collecting everything. Like he's playing music, holding his hand, dancing. Like
the way that we get into Finding Nemo. Extremely memorable.
Yeah.
You start off, you see Merlin with his wife, all the kids, and then just like that, they're dead. They send us into that film, but we understand every character extremely well. Like, we understand why Marlin's the way he is, why Nemo's the way he is. So which film you think had the best second act? I think Soul's middle act, I think, is really well. Like the part where we get back to the human world, and also 22 is in Joe's body, and we're also just seeing 22 talk to the barber, eat pizza, connect with the mother. Like that center part where 22 is living a life without Jazz. We're finding out what is Joe without his passions. Like who does he have in his corner if he's not playing music?
Monster University also, where like they're at first like they're doing the games together to like try to like get back into the scare program, and then at first they were like not trusting each other, and like we're being like solo, not being like a team together. But it shows like the little character growth for like them training together, and like them like growing as people.
What film you think had the greatest final act?
Toy Story 3, like
Toy Story 3.
Yeah, like everybody's about to die, and then
right.
they didn't. But Turning Red also, where like his
Turning Red has a great one. It's so like them mixing the Ritual song with the song from Fort Town. Like it's so peak. Who was your favorite director? Let's highlight some favorite directors.
Pete Docter, Andrew Stanton, I think, are two great directors. Even though I do think that all the directors do a great job. Even like the director of Good Dinosaur, he came back and then directed Elementals, which was a great movie.
Pete does great with all of his films. He knows exactly how to tap into emotions, how to make the audience feel things. The entire catalog, not a dry eye in sight. What do you think is Pixar's biggest strength as an animation studio?
Showing relationships, like friendships, or like just like any type of relationship through the eyes of another species. I think that they do that in every single movie. I think they do a great job. Family is like a big part of Pixar's catalog, and like anytime they do like a family scene, they really put all their effort into making it perfect.
Pixar knows exactly how to tap into the parent and the child's imagination. Like the children are lured in because they see toys that finally get to talk, monsters under the bed, skeletons running around. Make films that you watch when you're a child and you form like a close bond with, but then you grow up, you rewatch it, and you learn a completely different theme that wasn't there before. A lot of other studios make films that work only on one level where it's just there for the kids. There's nothing wrong with that. But Pixar rewards an audience for having a connection with the film. The last question I was gonna ask is, what could Pixar do in the future?
More sequels! I think if Disney allows the directors to fully have the director freedom to make the movies without being held back, I think that will allow for a lot of these great movies, because there's so many different aspects that directors add and are just held back because in recent times where Disney's like say, oh, that's not going to be safe from no controversy, so we're not going to do it, and then it just leads to another like disaster, how we had with like Elio. I want less sequels. Obviously, like I was making a joke before, but I think sequels are going to be like the downfall of Pixar if we just keep doing sequels that are unnecessary. Because obviously, I think there's some franchises that need sequels.
The biggest thing I think Pixar needs to do is to start taking more risk. Like, they're trying to stick with the old reliable. It falls back to what you were saying before about, all right, let's stick with the sequels, right? Because we already know we have a fan base off of that alone. Well, let's stick to this. Let's not experiment with our animation style too much. Like, I think the studio that's actually coming out with more innovations, like Sony Animation, really, their catalog is a lot more scattered, but their highs are incredible. Like, no film is just like the other one. They expand art styles, animation techniques, and are unafraid to just try different things and see what sticks and what doesn't. And I think Pixar kind of has to adapt that same thing.
At the end of the day, I enjoyed all the movies besides F tier. But, you know, I think every movie was important to like some person, so I think it's great to just show love to all these movies.
I want to highlight all of the collaborators that we had over this journey, everyone who spent time with us watching these films, giving us their own experiences. Thank you for everyone who's been tapping in since our first one. Mike, thank you for joining. Like, there is no one else who I think is as opinionated and respects the art form of animation as you do, which I knew, like, especially with this type of format, there was no one else I really wanted to work with. So I'm very thankful that we were able to knock this out. Shout out to all the people who grow up on animation, who still watch animation, continue to support animation, no matter what anyone else says to you. This is a love letter. All these videos are love letters towards one of the biggest spearheads of animation. Thank you guys for joining us for this journey. Come back next week where we watch every single Illumination film and rank them. So it's gonna be fun.
That is gonna be fun. More Minions, right?
Right. The Minions tier list coming soon.